It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. My friends, up to date on the channel is one of the big hits of the 1980s. And of course, as a kid who wasn't listening to popular music and whose parents weren't listening to popular music, who grew up in the late 70s, I missed it. I missed most of this stuff, but I am going back through and learning all of this great music that I need to know more about. Now, today, we are looking at Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. And you're asking yourself, I know that you are, you're asking yourself, Doug, we are not that stupid. You have heard this song. You have to have heard this song. Yes, I have. This will not be a first-time reaction. I have heard this song. I've admired it the few times I think that I've heard it, but I've never really given it a listen under the microscope here. With an ear towards style and substance and the key that they're in and lyrical analysis and motifs and all that sort of stuff. And so that's why I'm here today. It's a continuation of Doug's education, and I'm happy that you're along for the ride. This song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, comes from Tears for Fears' second album, Songs from the Big Chair. It was released in 1985. The group was riding a wave of new wave and synth-driven pop music during that time period in the mid-80s. And this song, its sound really caught fire around the world. And almost 40 years later, the song is regarded as one of their major hits and signature tunes. Their first album, The Herding, came out in 1983, and it was pretty successful. But as I read, in this follow-up album, the band departed from more dark and introspective themes and went for a more guitar-based pop and synthesizer pop sound, and it seems like it worked quite well. Songs from the Big Chair has gone on to become multi-platinum and the band's most successful album to date. We've got Roland Orzabal on guitars and synthesizers and backing vocals. Kurt Smith is on the synth bass and lead vocals. Ian Stanley is on a Yamaha DX7 and a Fairlight CMI synthesizer, and he also did some programming. Manny Elias did some drums and programming. It is written by Roland Orzabal, Ian Stanley, and their producer, Chris Hughes. So I am looking forward to hearing this anew and really concentrating on it. It is Everybody Wants to Rule the World from Tears for Fears. Off we go. And immediately, it's got that neighbor tone motive. And I'm trying to figure out what key they're actually in. They seem like they're in between keys, at least from where I tuned up. That's T-Law. Welcome to your time. It's interesting that they're coming into La and added 6 over the top of that root chord. It's either E flat or D. They're in between. Stepwise motion of the bass. Just a great groove, isn't it? Little shuffle pattern. Gets into compound meter. Most of freedom and of pleasure, nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody, even you, we secretly do. Great bridge. interesting neighbor motive that they've got going there. The guitar is great in this, isn't it? Just get you in a rhythm. If you're driving down the road, your foot will be going on the pedal. Just driving along, right? Married with a lack of vision. I can't stand this indecision. Cool. It's like T-La, starting with the major seventh of the chord, and they keep landing on an added sixth. I'm convinced that's what gives this its flair and its sound. They're between. I was right. That's in D versus. They're in between. They're in between keys. They're in between D and E flat. I'm glad I wasn't trying to play along during the song. That would have messed with my ear. So that's really cool. I don't know how they've got so many synthesizers. They just dialed them into whatever actual frequency what they decided to go with. They were in between keys there. That's cool. That may also give it a little bit of a flair, because even if we don't recognize that it's recorded in the cracks between two keys, it may have a slightly unique sound to it because of that, and we just aren't really aware of it. Really, really cool. And classic song. It's interesting, as I read in, the song almost was not recorded. Roland mentioned that the song's shuffle beat, that thing that we were talking about, 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, right? That was kind of, in his words, alien to them and to their normal way of doing things. It had quite a different sound than their song Shout, which leads off this album, and that one I've heard as well. But thankfully they did record it, and it's gone on to be one of their absolute big-time calling cards here, and many other artists have covered the song over the years, and it speaks to, I think, one of the uniquely human traits of wanting to be the one in charge. We want to be the head poncho, right? Or the head honcho, or whoever you want to call it. In as many situations as possible. If we're in a friend group, we want to be the one that makes the decision or leading off. If we're in politics, we want to be the one calling the shots. And that quest for power, for authority among our peers, and among lots of other people, you know, when we seek that and go over the line, right, we can cause corruption. And I think that's what they're talking about. Everybody wants to rule the world, but we can't have everybody ruling the world at one time. It's going to be absolutely chaotic. And be careful, if you're really wanting to rule the world, that you don't bring corruption with you as you do it. That's what I read from this. And boy, what a fun and classic tune it is. It was released in 1985, so it's almost 40 years on that we've had this song in our canon, and it still seems like it's a very beloved song and one that people haven't gotten tired of yet. And I think those unique sounds with it using that major seventh down to the sixth and those added sixths and some of those chords open that sound up, open those chords up and give them a bit of bloom and added color that, especially if you're just dealing with power chords and simple triads, that you're not going to get. And that combined with the sound of the guitars, the sound of the singing, the sound of the production, and the substance from the lyrics, I think makes this a lasting tune that we continue to enjoy listening to. Great. So thank y'all for allowing me to go back and relearn one of these songs that I've heard in the past. It's not a first reaction, but it's one that I know a lot more about now than I did about an hour ago, and I am happy about that. So thanks y'all for being with me for Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Thanks y'all. We'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.